Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Laura remembered telling Kay about Carolyn's new friend Mark a few months ago. She had come to the conclusion that Mark was a little too girly. Laura thought that Mark might secretly want to dress as a girl, but Kay was not sure because she had never met Mark. Laura came to this conclusion after noticing that Mark acted and looked like a girl. He seemed to spend more time with Carolyn than with his other guy friends. He was messing with and playing with his long hair the way a girl would. He didn't look much bigger than a typical girl his age. In fact, he had longer eyelashes and smaller hands than most girls his age. He was also so quiet. Always seemed to do whatever Carolyn asked, even doing her housework for her in an apron while she pretended she couldn't do it herself. And why did he always find a reason to stop by the salon? She decided that he just seemed a little too delicate. Yes, she was sure of it, and Kay must have known it as soon as she saw him. Laura laughed to herself as she wondered what Kay had in mind with the things she was going to bring over. Knowing how sneaky Kay was, Laura had her suspicions. As she led Mark from the sink to the styling chair, Laura said, "It's time to get started. Before I cut your hair, I'll have to perm it. It will take a few hours, so please be patient. Here are some magazines to look at to keep you from getting bored." Laura handed Mark a small stack of magazines. When Mark looked through them, he saw that they were all women's magazines. You know, it's what most women read. "I know, it's okay. They'll do, I guess." Mark crossed his skinny legs and opened a fashion magazine. As he flipped through the pages, Mark saw page after page of ads for lipsticks, hair products, and hairstyles. If that wasn't enough, the magazine was also full of articles about hairstyles, dresses, diets, and tips. "You have to sit here while the permanent solution hardens." She poured herself a cup of coffee and sat down. "Would you be kind and let me try some on you? I'd like to try some different things with them," Laura said, trying not to smile. "A lot of my clients have asked for them, and I could use some practice before I use them on my clients." Mark wiggled in his chair, already feeling a little exposed with his head full of perm rods. I don't know about that." "Oh, please, it would be so helpful and no one will ever know." "There's no need to tell anyone, right?" Laura sweetly asked. "Of course not. So will you be a sweetheart and let me?" "Again?" Laura asked in her sweetest voice.
I guess it's okay."
"Great, it'll be fun, you'll see," Laura said, clapping her hands. Mark squirmed nervously. What was he getting himself into? She thought he was so cute with his wide eyes and curled hair. She worked quickly and skillfully, putting a little concealer under his eyes, putting on 2 coats of mascara, adding black eyeliner, blending 2 shades of eyeshadow, putting on a facial lotion foundation, giving him a light dusting of Shine Control loose powder, and finishing with a touch of pink blush. Laura thinned and shaped his eyebrows slightly to give them a slight arch, which she said was a necessary part of the process. After she was done with his face, she chose a deep red lipstick and carefully put it on his lips. She took a step back and looked at her work. "I kind of like this makeup," she said. "It goes on well." Without asking, she then took Mark's left hand and started doing his nails. Mark's eyes widened, and he thought about pulling his hand back to protest. But he seemed to know it wouldn't help and didn't. He was nervous as Laura reshaped his nails and painted them a deep red that matched his lipstick.
"I guess you're going to tell me this is also a new polish you wanted to try out,"
he asked. Mark tried to speak in a calm way.
"Uh-huh. Wow, you get it quick,"
Laura laughed. She finally said something after putting the last coat on the last finger.
"There, that's better. Now, sit still so it can dry right, and I'll get back to your hair."
She carefully started taking out each perm rod, letting the long strands of hair gently bounce down as the hair was unwound. She then got ready to make his new style by looking at the newest hairstyle in the magazine. With comb and scissors, she deftly began to cut away at the mass of curls. She was proud of her decision to go with a much more feminine version of the shag style she had shown Mark. The style was definitely not for both men and women. Over time, the style took shape as the weight of the extra wet hair was taken away by trimming. This made the curls stand up more. After the trimming was done, Laura brushed, fluffed, and combed Mark's hair so that it stood up away from his face and left pretty bangs in the front, which she then put into place. Mark looked nervously at Laura as she moved around to stand in front of him. "Something's still not quite right," she said, looking at him with her hand on her hip and stroking her chin. Mark had no idea what she meant or what he looked like. It was getting harder for him to pay attention because the smells around him, like perm solution, nail polish, and Laura's lovely perfume, seemed to make his mind wander. He felt so different. Laura yelled at him, pushing his hair away from one ear. "Got it!" She then bent down and grabbed an earring gun that was silver from the counter. As Mark sat with his hands outstretched, still letting the nail polish dry, Laura walked over to him and quickly pulled his hair back and up out of the way so she could put it to his earlobe. She quickly made a hole in his ear with care. Mark yelled, "Hey!" when he was brought back to reality. "Oh, hush. I'm getting impatient," Laura said. "We can't give you a real makeover without earrings, can we?" Laura laughed at Mark, who couldn't move his hands to say anything. After getting his ears pierced, she went to her display of earrings and chose a pair of big hoops. When she got back, she put them in Mark's ears. "Now add the finishing touches to your hair," Laura said, trying again not to laugh. Kay came back to the salon just as she was finishing up framing Mark's hair around his face and letting the curls fall gently to his shoulders. She had used a blow dryer to set the curl with blasts of cool air and a lot of fluffing. "Wow," Kay said when she saw Mark sitting in the chair. Mark still hadn't seen a picture of himself. He seemed a little relieved to see Kay's reaction, but also a little worried because he had forgotten she was coming back. Now someone else had seen him. With a big smile, Kay said, "Honey, I hope I know your dress size." "What?" Mark asked, looking surprised. "Hey, there's no reason to stop here. It looks like you're ready to see how you'd look in one of my gowns," Kay said in a tease. Mark seemed to be mesmerized and frozen by Kay's words as she turned the chair around so that Mark could finally see himself in the mirror. "Can't wear guy clothes looking like that," Kay laughed. "Oh my," he exclaimed in shock. "What have you done? I look like a girl." He put his hand to his mouth and gasped again when he saw how pretty his nails were. Laura said, "Well, of course. That was the general idea, right? What do you mean? I thought you were just cutting my hair and trying out some makeup." "Oh, Mark, like you didn't know what I was doing. Is that why your eyes kept going to the prom dresses hanging over there? Mark, you surprise me. We are just trying to help you have some fun." "I'm sorry," said Mark in a weak voice. "Of course, I kind of knew what was going on and went along with it. I just didn't know it would lead to all this. What should I do now?" "You may not have known, but I bet you hoped," Laura asked. Mark said, "Well, I guess so," with his eyes downcast. "That's better. You might as well be honest with yourself." "It will be much better if you are," Kay said. "Well, let's get you out of that chair and into something pretty. I brought over a lot of pretty things." "Like what?" Mark asked. "You know, things like undies, camisoles, stocks, and a lot more. Everything you need before putting on a dress and heels. Unless you're already it," Kay asked playfully. Mark said, "No, of course not." "Well then, hurry up," Kay told them. Mark got up and stood in front of Kay because he was told to. Kay was shocked when she saw that Mark didn't look any taller than she did. She was 5, just 8 inches in her feet, and Mark seemed to be about the same height. Kay looked him over again and smiled. He looked girlish in his plain tank top and shorts, and his arms and legs didn't seem to have any muscle tone at all. Or should the name be changed a bit for today? "What's up with Marcy?" "Yes, that makes sense." "Doesn't it, Marcy?" "If you insist," Mark said with his eyes downcast, and Laura smiled in approval. "Marcy, let's go upstairs and run you a bath. But before you get in the bath, you should put your hair up. We don't want it getting wet. Then you should take this cream and put it on your body hair. After that, you should take a bath and rinse your body. You should spend about 20 minutes in the bath oils. That will make your skin smoother. Put this robe on when you get out of the shower. Got that all?" "Yes," Mark answered, and he slowly climbed the stairs and left. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.